So now you're with John, and John has decided that, oh, we're going to forget about Dothan, so you married him.
I married him. We decided that we would work on a book and documentary together with the information we had gathered. And that was supposed to be his little thing he was working on, and I'd just help as need be. And I was going to be working on my own personal, my own personal book that had to do with my life story. Just to get away, refresh, complete some stuff that we had started. And so anyway, none of that happened.
How was Colorado? Where'd you go?
We went to Silverton. Colorado was beautiful. It was Silverton's a very interesting little town.
Interesting in what manner?
Well, he knew a lot of people that had interesting jobs there or retired from interesting government jobs and odd things. And
odd things like intelligence, CIA?
DEA, other military, but not knowing what type of military.
Oh, secretive level.
Yeah, very secretive. Just whatever they are, they just get an arm punch. Kind of.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I was only with him 2 weeks.
Right. And then what happened?
What happened was I kept up with Ruth through Facebook, and she published an article, and I read it to John one night, and he had been working all day out on the road with his books, selling books to public schools. And
what type of books? Interesting, huh?
Things, whatnots, cookbooks, pop-up books, things that would just teachers might want to buy.
Okay.
And so he had the whole school system all over the Four Corners area, and he was exhausted. He had been out doing that all day, and and I had this story. I was, what about this? Well, he flew into a rage.
That story.
The article about Mossad and the hit in Dubai.
About him being a killer.
Yeah.
Right, because I got concerned about this man being around our community, and then there was the Lisa Wallace. He was the last one to see Lisa Wallace alive, according with Jon Carroll. Then the Morris guy, David Morris. Oh, John says that was my friend.
Well,
and David Morris was dead the morning after the night he was going to go and report the drug trade. The night before he's dead.
Yeah.
Then there is Rosita Kennedy. I met her cousin, and she said John was friends with my big sister. And John tells me he went on the search team for Rosita Kennedy at first, and then he was on the second search team. So I started putting all this together. I said, ain't no way in the hell that somebody can be friends with all these dead people and not know a little bit more.
That's case after case after case that we found. He has known people directly involved with every case that I'm aware of.
Wow.
Every case.
These were the Will Dickerson case that I started getting aware of, because he started to write. And this is amazing that someone would write, but he also introduced himself to me and Amos Newsom, who is my commissioner in Dothan, and flipped out a Department of Law Enforcement for Alabama, a badge.
Yeah.
Said he was a cold case homicide investigator.
Saw that badge.
Interesting that a cold case homicide investigator would write a play-by-play as he investigated. Think about that, people.
Think about that.
And now
he carried the badge with him to Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then he wrote some type of a brief. He went and got Will Dickerson out of jail. Yeah. And Will called me himself. Will got in touch with me. He said he believed that John had gotten him out of jail to create a case, because they had no case. Will didn't kill anyone, according to Will. He had no ties to that murder. But John had no information about him. And Rosita Kennedy was murdered, according to Will Dickerson, when she called the Eufaula police after Will Dickerson was in jail for murdering Willie Pugh. And she told him that she had seen Willie Pugh alive. That's when Rosita Kennedy disappeared. Do you know about that?
Bits and pieces of that, yes.
So yes. This is Will Dickerson's story before he was ever convicted. Yeah. So John writes some article on his paper, The Lynching of Will Dickerson. Well, we're tired of having murderers lynching people in our town, in our area. And Teresa, go ahead. Now, you read the article, he gets angry with What does he say? He gets angry?
He didn't get angry. He flew into a rage. He flew into a rage and threatened me, and we sort of got nose to nose, and I thought it was going to become a physical altercation. He didn't, because he saw I wasn't going to back down.
Well, he threatened you first or me? What did he do?
I'm not sure how it, I think it basically told me to shut up, pretty much, and then I immediately started defending you and defending the point of whatever it was that we were trying to make, which was he was saying you were putting it at risk, and I was saying it's better just, if it's the truth, just get the information out, which I had tried to get him to put the information out ourselves, us put that out.
But he told you about that murder, right?
He did. He did tell me about it, and I watched the film prior to us being together.
So you had known about him being involved in this because he admitted it.
Yeah, and you know, just as things happen, there were so many things in so many cases in my own personal. It just was not. I was not clicking with how it all worked together and what his role in all of it was. You know, it was just so. He's so good at manipulating and.
Right.
You know, one story for one person, a new story for another person. That, you know, by the time we got to Colorado and everything was squished and this refueled it, that refueling made it just start clicking in with me, and that's when it did.
Clicking in, like as in why? You said he came back into your life shortly after your grandchildren's father disappeared or was murdered, or what happened?
A missing person. My grandson's father became a missing person and was a missing person for about 15 months. And then suddenly, after I started working for the
with the Henry County Report,
my first big story was they found my grandson's father's head.
And was it decomposed?
Yes, it was. It was the skull. A dog had drugged the skull up into the yard, and later they found the body. And they still released nothing, but they have now, I think a few months ago, did positively identify the body, but we have not laid the body to rest, nor do we have the body. But they did finally identify that as being Joseph Smith.
And was the head cut off? Was it severed?
The head was detached, and a dog had it chewing, you know, like a dog would chew on a bone. It was chewing on the skull in someone's yard. So we don't know, was it prior to, or, you know, they won't give you any information. But I did that story. I was there when they found it. A friend called and said, hey, they found something. And so I went immediately, and that happened to be that story. But yeah, that happened pretty quick, you know. So there were personal things going on that kept me from being my sharpest on him. You know, it was emotional attachment to a lot of things. So I just wanted to find out so badly for people, you know, get to the bottom of it and get some help from each situation that I was allowing him to do all the other stuff, and I was just focusing on editing and getting the things, you know, and going over stories and making them more, what I thought were more appealing, or, you know, for more people to read and process the information other than it being
yourself,
you know,
yeah. Right. So that was very kind of you, but then as I followed it, I realized this guy had this conversation that always circled back around to, they'll kill you for that, they'll kill you for that. And I would always say, who in the hell are they? And why would they kill you?
Right.
Who are all these people who think they have the right to go out killing people? And why are there so many dead bodies in this area that seem to have no resolution on who murdered them? That was my question. And why does he know all of them? He knew all of them personally.
Well, what he told me that night was it would take one call. I called him on it. I said, what are you saying? You're going to kill her? No, it would take one call. One call and get Ruth taken care of like this.
So why did he want to kill me?
Yeah, I don't know, other than he kept saying you were putting his family at risk, But you know, I wasn't seeing it that way, and that's what was angering me, because I didn't see it that way. And then he got more angry